Welcome to the Michigan Runner Show. Join us each time as we explore the people, the places, and the events that shape our great sport.
Fast forward, if you would, Coach, to the Olympics of 1960 in Rome.
My wife was an assistant coach. We were very discouraged with the performances of our women. So I was coaching the men, assistant coach at the University of Michigan at that time. I said, let us go back to Michigan and start a women's track team. And we'll start with young girls, 10, 12, 14 years old. At that time, my wife, Betty, was teaching at Slauson. And I said, you find the best girl that you can find in the gym class, and we'll start a track team. And that was Francie Crocker, who later was on 2 Olympic teams. And Francie began to get some notice in the newspaper, and it began to attract other girls to Ann Arbor. And finally, there were girls coming from all over the state here. Some would only come once a week. Some would come every day, twice a week. They come from Flint and Howell, Lansing, Detroit, even from Mackinac City, and would stay overnight sometimes, just because it was the only place in Michigan that there was any track for girls. That was 1960. And from that, we formed a team eventually, and for years we were the best girls team, because girls teams began to form in Flat Rock and Lincoln Park and Midland, Michigan. Little teams began to show up, and then we had state championships for women. The group that we had, we called the Michigammes. Gammes is French for legs. I trained these girls with weights. I believed in weight training. In fact, Francie's father was a doctor, and one of the toughest decisions that I had to put across was to her father, because I said, no, I can train these girls with weights, and they will not get big muscles. They'll get stronger, and I know weight training. In fact, that's how I got hired at the University of Michigan. Finally, in the 60s, the rest of the coaches got wise to weight training, and then we were just about a par with everybody else.
Coach, could you reminisce just a bit about how you got Don Canham, the athletic director at Michigan, to finally allow women to compete and have a team?
I was coaching with the men when I wanted to start these girls, and Don said, well, okay, you can use the facilities after we're through. And I also got to use Waterman Gym indoors. I had to adjust the time to when the girls could run, but I did get the use of the facilities. Of course, I was coaching the men at the same time. And then when Title IX came in, my first wife, Betty, had died just then in 74, and I retired. Title IX came in 75. Canham called me back. They wanted me to start the women's track team. Well, we had a club in 76. We didn't have a regular team. I'd gone around the campus and put up ads, tried to get the girls to come in, you know. I went to Canham and said, I'd like to take these girls to the Big Ten. And he says, we don't take clubs anywhere. We don't pay their way. But he said, you've done a good job with these girls, and they've been winning state championships. He says, I'll make an exception. Well, we went there with 7 girls. My wife, Lois, was with me. And of course, I told Canham, I'm not traveling around the country with these 18-year-old, 17 girls alone, because I was the trainer, the bus driver, the coach, all events, everything. Not just one thing, but all events. And I said, if I take the job, my wife's going with me. And he says, okay. So they'd made their own uniforms. They'd gone to Kmart and bought their shoes, because we didn't have any money. And my wife, Lois, actually was in tears. See our 7 girls coming down. But the great part of this story is 4 years later, we came back to the same venue, the same place, and the girls won this Big Ten championship. You're doing something that you like to do, and you're having fun, and you don't realize what it means as far as history goes. And to see what they have become in the way of nurses, teachers, doctors, lawyers, it's just one of the greatest satisfactions to listen to these girls and realize that you had an effect on their lives and what they have done since they graduated. And you don't think anything of it when you're doing it. You don't realize what you're doing.
Well, you kind of answered my last question, Coach. I was going to ask Coach, how does it feel to have inspired so many people to achieve greatness, being great yourself, and then passing that gift on to dozens and dozens of women who, as we heard earlier tonight, have achieved things in life that might never have been possible if you didn't, when they were little ones, give them that self-confidence and inspire them to be the best they can be.
It is. I sat there tonight and listened and realized, it hit me then, that I did affect all these. At the time you're doing it, you're just doing something you like to do, and you don't realize that you're actually making history. And I look at every one of them that I looked at, there was a story, and I could remember something about them, you know. And actually, I had quite a bit of restraining to stop myself from tears. And to hear these girls mention now that they're still running and exercising and working, I know what that means as far as the quality of life for them now and for many years to come. Because I'm now past 95, and there isn't anything yet that I can't do. I can get up and run, jump, walk, go anywhere. Just come back from Cancun and climb up the Chichen Itza Aztec marvels in Mexico.
Phenomenal, Coach. And I understand you still work out every day?
Every day. I worked out this morning in Chrysler Arena. I jogged and ran around the top for a mile and went to the weight room and worked out on the weights. I don't do heavy lifting. I do a lot of repetitions with lighter weights to give me circulation, respiratory benefit, you know. But my heart rate, I've been checked. My heart rate is the equivalent of a 35, 40-year-old person.
If you could pass along to young athletes today just a bit of knowledge, perhaps about what it took to get women's athletics on the map, what is it you'd like them to know?
The thing about all of it to me was these girls wanted to do something, and all they needed was equipment, facilities, and a chance to compete. And I feel that I had a big part getting these things available for them. Oh, that's just wonderful to see what they've done and to realize that you were a part of it. I wanted them to have the experience of competition. The companionship and togetherness that they still have after 40 years indicates one of the values of sports.
Thank you, Coach. We owe you a great debt, and we wish you all the best in your future.
Thank you very much.